The intellectual landscape today, it often feels, well, bifurcated,
Yeah,
stuck between two extremes, and frankly, neither is very satisfying.
that's true.
On one side, you have a kind of subjective, blind faith that seems to actively fear any real intellectual challenge.
Feel on the other.
A cold, mechanical nihilism, a worldview that just dismisses anything that can't be measured with purely material tools.
Right.
And the stakes here are, well, they're existential. So the question becomes, how do we even begin to define ultimate reality in an intellectually rigorous way? How do we ground metaphysics in something absolute?
And that's exactly what our sources, the ones you provided, give us. They offer this incredibly sophisticated framework for that exact challenge.
And that framework is.
It compels us to see the Creator not as some obscure mystical figure, but as the ultimate rational principle,
The system maker.
the absolute system maker,
Sure.
the composer of reality, if you like that analogy. So the mission for this deep dive is to really analyze the main tool the text uses to communicate this sophisticated paradoxes. We're going to be looking at Surah al-Hadid, specifically chapter 57, verse 3, and how this strategy works epistemologically. I mean, how it protects human reason, the ACL, from some very common errors.
We're looking for systemic coherence.
All right, let's unpack that foundational verse. It establishes the absolute boundary conditions for the entire system.
Yeah.
It reads, "He is the first and the last, the manifest and the hidden."
Profound statement.
It's a profound rational challenge. I mean, our minds, they're built for binary logic. A thing is either A or it's non-A. It can't be both.
Right.
So you can't be the beginning and the end,
Yeah.
or the seen and the unseen at the same time. So why? Why would a text that claims to be the ultimate source of truth use attributes that seem on the surface to be completely contradictory?
And what's so fascinating is that these paradoxes, they aren't there to create confusion or to make you retreat into some kind of mystical fog.
No.
No, they're engineered for the exact opposite. They're there to clarify. They act as an intellectual guardrail for the rational mind.
Guardrail. Yes. They establish that necessary, that absolute boundary between the created, which is finite, and the creator, which is infinite.
Okay.
You see, if the human being, who the text calls the trustee, the Khalifa, tries to define the creator's essence, they're immediately prone to two major intellectual traps.
And what are those?
The first is anthropomorphism. That's where you try to define the divine using human relative qualities. You basically make the creator into a superpowered version of yourself.
And the second.
The second is maybe even more subtle and more dangerous. It's limitation, defining the creator using finite terms.
So saying he's just really long-lasting or that he started things a long time ago.
Exactly. It's like using a 12-inch ruler, a ruler designed for this universe, to try and measure infinity. The paradoxes just shatter that ruler.
So the point isn't to be vague. It's to force intellectual altitude. It forces the individual, the mind that operates within time and space, to just accept the futility of trying to definitively describe the creator's essence.
It's a moment of necessary intellectual humility.
It has to be.
And that recognition is absolutely central to the whole framework. It shifts the burden of proof. You're commanded to know the laws, the attributes, justice, mercy, sovereignty, because those are observable and they dictate your conduct.
But not the essence.
But you are intellectually barred from fully comprehending the essence itself. Why? Because that essence precedes the system's own rules.
This concept, this stretching of the human mind beyond simple logic, this is what's referred to as ijaz, isn't it?
It is. It's the systemic coherence, the unparalleled elegance of the text that serves as proof of its transcendent non-human origin. The mind is forced to elevate its understanding, or it risks breaking its own logic.
Okay, if the paradox is the guardrail, let's look at the first pair, the one that defines sovereignty over the very architecture of existence. We start with the first, al-awwal, and the last, al-akhir.
Right.
How does this apparent contradiction possibly resolve itself when we look at it through the lens of absolute sovereignty over time and causation?
This pairing is really the foundation for the creator being the system maker. It directly tackles that fundamental philosophical question of infinite regress.
The whole who made the maker problem.
Precisely. The first, al-awwal, means he is the origin of existence, the ultimate cause without a preceding cause.
The uncaused cause.
The uncaused cause. Philosophically, it just negates any possibility of a beginning in the human sense, and it logically cancels out any idea of a co-eternal entity. Everything that exists is a result of this first principle.
Okay, so if we accept the logical necessity for an ultimate origin, what does the title "the last" aleki here add to that? Doesn't the last sort of imply an end point? A cessation?
It does, but it's a cessation for us, for the created system, not for the creator.
I see.
The last, alak here, means he is the ultimate destination, the final cause after which there is no end. This is the permanence of the divine reality, and it guarantees two critical things.
Which are?
First, the immutability of the divine law across all of time. And second, the inevitability of the final reckoning. In other words, accountability is baked into the system's design. Time itself, from infinite past to infinite future, is entirely encompassed.
The rational implication of that, it's profound for us, for the human operating inside this system. It means the creator encompasses all of time, our entire existence, this whole cosmos we see. It's just a defined, constrained interval held between these two infinities.
It objectively scales our reality. It's not just that we're here temporarily, it's that we are operating inside an absolute bounded system.
And that leads directly to the functional result for the individual.
Exactly. By internalizing that the creator is both the first and the last, the individual achieves perfect trust, tawakkul.
Okay, explain that. The operational security aspect. Why does accepting that specific paradox lead to perfect trust?
Because it renders all other sources of security or power logically obsolete. It just makes them irrational. I mean, if the creator is absolute over the beginning and the end of the entire system, the entire causal chain, then trying to find ultimate security or power outside of that central reality is, well, it's irrational. It's like trying to find the system's master operating code in one of the subroutines.
Right. The internal logic itself demands that trust be placed solely in the system maker.
Whose decree is permanent and inescapable. This whole structure defines the individual's ethical relationship to both time and power.
So if that's sovereignty over time, let's pivot to something even closer to home. Perception, reality. That brings us to the second pair, the manifest, Azahir, and the hidden, Al-Batin.
Yes, and this pair defines the creator's relationship to reality and human perception. It bridges the gap between physics and metaphysics. And this is where the framework explicitly validates rational methodology.
Which is crucial. It's the key difference between this and just mysticism.
It is. So the manifest, Azahir, means the creator is evident in his works, his power, his wisdom, his design. It's all observable. And this observation happens in two main arenas, which the fixed laws and complex design of the universe, what the texts call the afak, the horizons, and within the structure and function of the self, the anfas.
So then contemplation, the scientific methods, studying the physical universe, even self-reflection, these aren't just tangential activities.
Not at all.
They're actually commanded methodologies for reading the evidence. The universe is a legible text.
Precisely. If you look at the universe or yourself and you find fixed, coherent, repeating laws, that very coherence is the manifestation of the system maker.
Okay, then the other side of the coin.
Conversely, the hidden, al-batin, means the creator is concealed from our perception, from our comprehension. His essence is not a substance, it's not a physical object. It can't be seen or measured or contained by anything created.
And this is the guardrail against idol worship, the attempt to put physical, created limits onto an infinite essence.
Absolutely. The manifest validates reason and observation. The hidden maintains the creator's transcendence and guards against physical limitation.
So, the creator is simultaneously the most evident reality. His law governs every breath you take, and also the most unknowable being, because his essence defies all created bounds.
It's an incredible synthesis.
This really raises an important question, though, for you, the listener, and for us. If the essence is hidden, how does the rational mind perceive the divine without falling back on subjective dreams or emotional leaks?
To answer that, we have to define the law of creation, the fitra. This is the internal receiver, an innate rational disposition that's hardwired into every human being.
Okay.
So the brain perceives the divine not through some emotional obscurity, but by reading the ayat, which means signs, the objective cosmic signals, the fixed laws of reality, using the rational mind, the I-call.
So the feature is like the internal software.
Exactly. It's the software that processes the external objective cosmic signal. It ensures that knowledge of the divine is both rational and inherent, not just learned.
That makes the entire process sound systematic, not sentimental. You used the composer analogy earlier. It's like the composer has set the absolute harmony, the law, the fitra.
And the human is the performer.
The performer who has to study the score, which is both revelation and nature, the ayat.
And that is the perfect analogy for accountability. If the creator, is the ultimate system maker and lawgiver, then this rigorous paradoxical framework structures ethical accountability with objective certainty.
How so?
Accountability arises because the harmony is fixed. It's objective. It's absolute. It's not subjective or based on one person's limited interpretation of reality.
Right.
You can't claim ignorance of the music when the laws of the universe are the signal, and you possess the rational hardware, the occult, to read the score, guided by your innate disposition, the fitra.
So the contemplation of these paradoxes, the first and the last, the manifest and the hidden, it becomes the highest exercise of the intellect. It forces the mind to transcend that simple binary logic and achieve a sort of a philosophical maturity.
And that intellectual stretching is profoundly preparatory.
Preparatory for what?
It prepares the individual to accept the non-conventional truths of the revelation, things like resurrection, or the detailed nature of accountability, not as some kind of arbitrary magic.
What as?
As the inevitable logical outcomes of a fully coherent, absolute system. It's the logical necessity of a system designed by the ultimate rational principle.
And that coherence, that's the crucial takeaway we're extracting from this material. For you, the individual trying to navigate a world of conflicting ideas, faith, when it's defined this way, is never a subjective, mystical leap into the dark.
Never.
Instead, it's a demanding, rigorous conclusion of reason, the necessary result of observing the systemic coherence of reality itself.
The system is just too perfect, too encompassing, and too rationally bounded by these ultimate paradoxes to be anything less than absolute.
And that leads to a final, provocative thought for you to explore as you continue to process all of this.
The command for intellectual humility. This idea that the individual is empowered to know the Creator's laws and attributes, like justice and mercy, but is intellectually barred from fully comprehending the Creator's essence. That is not a restriction on knowledge.
What is it then?
Rather, by defining that ultimate boundary condition, it actually frees human reason from the impossible task of designing infinity. It ensures that the intellect is focused entirely on the ethical and moral performance within the system.
So the final question is,
what is the true ethical consequence of accepting this ultimate non-negotiable boundary?